Good afternoon, Fabian Onetti for Winston Capital Advisors. Today is October 9 and we do our webcast in English. You can find us in www.winston.capital to know more about our company and our services. What we have today for the webcast, we're going to talk about the markets. They're all in tight records, not just in the US but around the world. What does it mean? Do we have a bubble? What happens? Also, the bond market, which also is at roaring levels of issuance. Some comments on General Motors and Tesla. I think it's a good comparison amongst the two companies. We're going to talk about a little bit about the saga in Catalonia that continues. What's going on in the IPO market? The third quarter ended and we have some data on that. We're going to talk about bonds. A little bit of what happened in the UK last week. We had the Conservative Party meeting and there were all sort of rumors about Prime Minister May. And then, like always, a little bit of the saga of the Fed, who's coming, a little bit of Argentina, which is one of our favorite plays, and also another favorite play of Winston, which is Netflix. And like always, what's happening and what's coming next week. So let's start with the markets. Markets close at record highs, but not only in the US. When you look at abroad. China is almost 50% up for the year, Brazil 25, emerging markets 29, the only laggard, Russia, is already up 4%. So everywhere you go, even if you go, of course, if you go to Europe, France is 25, Germany 22, so the European zone is 24. So clearly it's been a spectacular year for equity markets. And people are wondering, where there's a lot of vertigo out there on what's going on, and people are wondering, is the market ready to correct? What's going to happen, etc., etc. I think not. Usually the markets before a correction, there is some sort of a melt up, an exuberance, investor craziness, and this is one of the most hated bull markets in history. Most people are not participated, are not involved. So I think that is something that to take in account. Still, despite that the Fed is kind of lowering the purchase of bonds, overall the central bank's balance sheet is growing at 8% per annum. So they are gobbling up any sort of fixed income instrument that happens. And in the case of Japan, they own 60% of all the ETFs outstanding in Japan. They're buying equity as well. So clearly, we still have that. Yes, markets are a little expensive or are expensive, but the economic numbers are very, very strong. Not only in the United States, but around the world, we have very good economic data. And like we've been saying for a while, it's just a synchronous global growth, not just in the US, but also in Europe, in Japan, China, emerging markets. Everybody is putting out very good numbers. Just a note, in the US, for the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a lot of noise because the hurricanes will distort the numbers. We had an example of that last Friday on the labor market report that was kind of very wrong, not very wrong, but it's very strange, but it's all due to, the problem with hurricanes. But also, we all know that, short term, medium term, hurricanes create growth because, listen, if your house was flooded, you got the check from the insurance company, which by the way is tax-free, but since you're going to do that, maybe you put some extra money and you do something at your home that you were not doing before. So at the end, we'll end up consuming more. You get a new car. If your car was flooded, you had an old car. We had that. We already seen that into the auto shares. They have record sales. Texas is amongst the top 3 car markets in the United States. So clearly, the replacement of close to 1 million cars lost in a hurricane is very positive for the car companies, and we saw some of the numbers last week. General Motors, getting into a post-bankruptcy record high. So that was very positive. So are the markets going to correct? Who knows? Am I selling? No, I think that we still have times to go and people are not participating, and I think the environment, especially in numbers on the economy and the companies, is very positive. But since I was talking about cars, let's go to General Motors. Good article on Barron's, and also there was a good article in the Financial Times during the week saying that right now the best self-driving car that there is out there, guess, is not Tesla, it's Cadillac. There is an additional Cadillac that you order and it has all these self-driving assists, and it's the best that there is out there. There was a test by the Financial Times, and I just read an article on Barron's. And also, GM is coming with his new electric car version. It has a range of about 250 miles, so it puts it right there with Tesla in competition at a better price. So my point with Tesla has been the company has not protection in terms of their competitive advantage. Forget that he's losing money and needs money, but Porsche announced an electric car for the next year, and I'm sure BMW, Mercedes, the big firms with big pockets are coming into that, and I don't see what's the barrier that Tesla has to protect their competitive position. So again, more on that we discuss time after time here. Catalonia, the saga continued. We had the vote that was declared illegal was not going to happen. It did happen. So we are now into this situation. And last week, on the fear of what might happen, some of the largest companies in Catalonia, in Barcelona, shifted their legal address. CaixaBank, the third largest bank in Spain, Gasbank, one of the largest utility companies, I think Iberdrola, Iberdrola is not in Barcelona, I'm sorry, Banco Sabadell, and many other companies are shifting their, for now their address, very soon the headquarters. I think the serious damage is already been done to Barcelona and Catalonia by this move, because eventually all these companies are going to move away, are going to disappear, and going to take those jobs somewhere else. We still don't know what's going to happen. The latest at 6:30 on Monday is that apparently the parliament in Catalonia will declare a gradual independence. No one knows what that means, like a gradual pregnancy. I don't know, but it's not like they're going to sit down to negotiate. But tomorrow they will declare something. So we'll follow that. We are short EWP. Not that because we like, but because we think that something could happen that is not in the market and could create a big dislocation. So we're following it very closely. We'll keep you guys updated on WhatsApp like we always do. So we have some first numbers coming. Q3 finish, IPOs down 30% year over year. Very bad season for IPOs. Only Roku, the company who does some streaming on cable, did well. Most of the others, especially Snapchat, did very poorly. So maybe for that reason, people pull out some deals, but clearly very poor on IPOs. However, the market has some hopes on the next quarter. Names like Spotify, Lyft, and Dropbox are mentioned that could list probably on the fourth quarter. Where do I see a fever is on the bond market. A couple of examples. Mexico issued 30 years, 1.8 billion at 4.60 of yield. Brazil issued 10 years at 4.85 of yield. And in both cases, the traditional emerging market buyers didn't buy into the deal because it was too expensive. But the investment grade buyers came in, jumping on deals that were very oversubscribed. And then the other thing is like Ireland, recently upgraded, just coming out of the crisis, issued last week a 5-year bond with a zero coupon, not a zero coupon bond, a bond with a zero coupon. So at the end of the 5 years, you're just going to get your money back, and during 5 years, Ireland pay you no money. So people are willing to do that, and of course, we've seen that in France and in Germany, there are negative rates. And also remember that the central banks are buying bonds like Godzilla. I mean, they're non-stop. So investors are trying to grab whatever they can before the central banks show up. Kind of disconcerting. Also, record issuance in emerging markets. $300 billion of bond have been issued so far. So I think there the market is getting a little bit ahead of itself. But also, understandably, corporations are trying to lock in lower rates, because we know that the Fed is raising rates at this moment. So clearly, that's kind of the situation that we're living on. And again, I'm more worried about the bond issue and this type of issuance, but we'll be checking it and reporting back to you. Last week we have in the UK the meeting of the Conservative Party. As we have discussed, the Brexit negotiations are basically a disaster. They are not moving in any direction. There are all sorts of recriminations, no different than any divorce, but the divorce of the size of a country. So that's what we're having. And there were big rumors last week that on the meeting of the Conservative Party was going to be an internal coup trying to replace Prime Minister May. It didn't happen. The pound was down more than 1%. It recovered some after she came out and said that everything was okay and the ministers were okay. So far we know very little, but it's also another situation that is coming and going all the time. The Fed, a lot on the Fed, like always. We're watching what's happened, who's next. These are the four names that we have this week: Yellen, Powell, Gary Cohn, Kevin Warsh. These are some of the favorites. Now the new favorite is Kevin Warsh, former president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas. And the main thing is not so much on monetary policy, but apparently the Trump administration is very focused on deregulation. How can deregulate the financial system post 07-08 crisis in a way that unlock more credit? Big companies get credit, some of the individuals get credit, but small and medium corporations are not getting good credit. That's what the reports are. This is the complaint. So it looks like what we know so far is that the Trump administration is looking for someone that understands and it has this aim to deregulate. So more to come. We'll see what happens. Two trades that we like a lot that we have in our portfolio: Argentina, we have the elections coming. The market has also been making new records. We like it a lot. Two sectors there. In one side, energy. We have all this shale oil business to develop. So we like YPF, Pampa Energía, and Transportadora de Gas del Sur, TGS. And then the banks always, playing around on a recovering country or recovering economy. Banco Superville, recently listed medium bank with a lot of upside potential, and Grupo Galicia, a well-established bank with very good market share. Also last week, Netflix, one of our favorites in our portfolio, they raised prices 10%, and the stock reacted very positively, 5% up. We like the company. We think the valuation is okay. If you think about the growth of subscribers, this is what we need to look. As I said, they have $100 million subscribers that pay every month. In the world, there are $1 billion cable subscribers. So as a comparison, how much they can get, maybe $300 million in 3 to 4 years of subscribers, and that will basically discount the proper valuation that it is today. So the metric to look is how they grow quarter after quarter in subscribers. They usually do about $5 million. The key now is the international growth, which they're bringing new countries and new subscribers. So that's the stuff that we will be looking. We still like the stock. We like it very, very much. That's for the week. What's coming for this week? Basically, we start with the season of earnings. On Thursday, JP Morgan and Citibank. On Friday, the Bank of America. And then again, we have a lot of Federal Reserve Bank governors speaking, Yellen and all the other ones, one way or the other, different conferences. So we'll be watching and reporting to see what's new, what's the latest on these moves on the Federal Reserve, on the tightening cycle. The market right now is thinking 78% that we have another raise before the end of the year, but also the evolution of the portfolio. Again, we like it. Yes, they're expensive, but we're still long, but we're looking very closely. Thank you very much. Again, you can find us in www.winston.capital. We'll get together again next week. Thank you very much. Have a good week.